Hello, viewers. I'm glad you're here. It's time for makgeolli talk. It's time for me to talk to myself about delicious Korean rice wine. And today's topic is temperature. What's the right temperature to store and to serve makgeolli? So, so that's today's topic. And before I begin, I'd just like to thank everyone. I've noticed recently there's more comments on my videos, so thank you for your questions, your comments, just telling me what you're brewing. Thanks for all of your comments. I appreciate it. And so today, temperature. So first of all, storage temperature. And to answer that question, I went and looked at my makgeolli labels. So I keep all the labels I can, so I can check them later for information like this. What's the recommended storage temperature for makgeolli? And generally, if they say anything at all, it'll say to refrigerate it at a temperature between 0 and 10 degrees Celsius. So that's 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's pretty typical. You can see that information on many labels. But a few labels mention a lower temperature for storage. For example, this Mao US label recommended 0 to 2 degrees Celsius. That's a cool temperature. And this Anji Suk this label recommended below 5 degrees Celsius. And this Moonhee label recommended below 2 degrees Celsius as well. So recommended storage below 10 degrees Celsius. That's not as cold as a normal refrigerator, but a few of these labels recommend cool temperature, exactly the temperature of my refrigerator. So for these commercial makgeollis, and I think even for homebrewed ones, if you had a cool cellar that's at 50 degrees Fahrenheit or 10 degrees Celsius, that would be okay for storage. Otherwise, refrigeration is recommended. Okay, so that's pretty easy to answer, but what about serving temperature? This is where I think typically people only think of drinking makgeolli cold, and definitely the advice on the label is always serve chilled. Serve chilled, it says that pretty much everywhere. Although, for example, this Uri Seoul chestnut label says tastes even better if you consume it chilled. That makes it sound like you don't necessarily need to consume it chilled. It just tastes better that way. But chilled does not necessarily mean straight out of the refrigerator. So on one extreme, you could drink makgeolli as pretty much frozen, as a slush, the consistency of slush. And I have had that in a restaurant. Here's what it looked like. So this is frozen makgeolli. It was a fairly sour brew, but strong in alcohol and very tasty to consume at this temperature, which is 0 degrees Celsius. So that's one extreme. On the other hand, if just because the label says serve chilled, that doesn't mean it has to be frozen or even the temperature just out of the refrigerator. It could be a bit warmer. That's the advice, for example, for white wine. For drinking white wine, you don't have to drink it at the temperature of your refrigerator. You can let it warm up a bit and then consume it, and it might have more flavor. So let's take the advice of a brewer. So this brew, Ho Ho by Han, let's take the advice of the brewer. On the label, it says to store it at 10 degrees Celsius or below. That's normal. But what about consumption? So this is what Han said on Instagram about her brew, which is a sweet pumpkin makgeolli. And this was her advice. And I don't know if it's just the Google Translate here, but it sort of reads like a poem. So, hello, ho, ho, ho. Just taken out of the refrigerator, the cold ho ho, the alcohol taste is the strongest. It's so cold that ho ho is hiding. when your makgeolli is so cold, you might not taste all the flavor. And she goes on to say, leave it at room temperature for a while and drink it. You can meet the ho-ho who sneaks out. Rather than enjoying it with ice, emptying 1 or 2 cups, we recommend that you enjoy the ho-ho as the temperature rises on the table. The taste that I didn't feel in the first cup, you can feel in the last cup. I also recommend decanting it. So, okay, the recommendation here is to let the brew warm up in your cup. You'll taste more of that pumpkin flavor as it warms up, and that matches the kind of recommendation you get with white wine. If white wine is more full-bodied, you can enjoy it warmer. You can taste more of the flavor. At the lower temperatures, you might only taste the alcohol and the acidity. You might miss any subtle flavors in the wine. So that's good advice, and I'm glad she explained it to the drinkers of her brew. It's always good to get advice from the brewer how you should enjoy the drink. So I'm really glad that she posted this, and she also recommended decanting it. Decanting it, that's pouring it into a different container. That's going to aerate it, and that also can enhance flavors. It can make the flavors brighter. So again, good advice. So if you have a brew that is more full-bodied, that has more savory flavors in it, it wouldn't hurt to let it warm up a bit before drinking it, and you might get some. It might enhance the flavors you're able to experience. So on one hand, if like a citrus taste can be pretty much frozen and you can still enjoy it, the acidity and citrus flavor, you can enjoy that at low temperature. But if your flavors are more complex, that can benefit from a warmer consumption temperature. And it doesn't need to be all the way at room temperature, but if it's at 55 degrees, it's still chilled, and you're going to be able to enjoy more of the flavors present in the brew. So I hope you found this interesting. That's my recommendation, but let me know in the comments how you like to enjoy makgeolli. Do you add ice cubes? Do you drink it frozen? Which flavors of makgeolli do you enjoy at what temperature? So I look forward to your comments. Thank you for watching.